The Long-Term Care Administrators Board meeting is convening at 9:02 a.m. on June 6, 2025. This meeting is being held in person through MS Teams video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. I will now call roll. Maggie Hilty, she's not going to be here. Sam Weiss.
Present.
Carol Hankins. Also absent. David Lewis.
Here.
Drasti Patel.
Here.
Jocelyn Cook.
Here.
Emily Morgan. Corey Krisman.
Here.
And Tanya Hoskins.
Here.
Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through MS Teams keep their phones muted and cameras off during the entire meeting or until they are given an opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak, please sign in on the roster sheet available in the room or email Josh Page at josh.page@oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Again.
Good morning.
The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I would like to make some amendments to the agenda. Item number 3, we are not going to have executive session today. There wasn't a need for it. And then of the applications, we were going to review the very first one, 133379 is being removed. So if I can get someone to approve the agenda and then a second.
So move.
Sam Weiss.
Okay.
I move to accept. Yep.
I think David got ahead of you on the first. Is that correct, David?
Yeah, and Sam can be the second.
And Sam is the second. Okay, I'll call roll. Sam Weiss, yay or nay?
Hey.
David Lewis?
A.
Drashti Patel?
Yay.
Jocelyn Cook?
Yay.
Corey Krisman?
Yay.
And Tanya Hoskins?
Yay.
Okay. Thank you all very much. So we have a number of applicants to review. HLO, in reviewing the applications, had some concerns whether or not these individuals, applicants, qualified, and therefore we are having this special meeting. During any discussion, please do not refer to the applicant, education, specifically to schools attended, GPAs, dates of birth, social security numbers, anything of the like to identify the school or any other types of FERPA information. Did everybody have an opportunity to review these applicants?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So, we can start with applicant 172962 on whether or not this applicant qualifies for a residential care license.
Weiss. appears to meet the requirement.
Thank you, Sam.
Bob, while folks are pondering, do you want to read the rule that they are weighing their information against? It's I believe the issue where we were getting stuck was the combination of education and experience deemed sufficient. So I thought that might get everybody's
Sure.
mind clicking in the right direction.
Sure. So, so to qualify for a RCF administrator license, an applicant must submit proof of being employed in a professional or managerial capacity in a field related to health or social service. And if my understanding is correct, I see folks on the line. Michael Brennan is one of them. He's our licensing specialist. The social service and possibly some of the health is where we're having some hurdles to get over. So these two, this experience needs to be for at least 2 out of the last 5 years, have earned at least a bachelor's degree in a health or social service related field, or have any combination of both experience and education deemed sufficient by the office.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So I do have some additional rules to share. OAR 853-050-0000 subsection 4, experience is defined as prior performance in administration, including planning, organizing, directing, staffing, and budgeting of a licensed long-term care facility. And OAR 853-020-0000 subsection 5, experience in healthcare management or defined as prior performance administration, including planning, organizing, directing, staffing, and budgeting of a licensed long-term care facility. So any additional discussion with regards to applicant 172962?
And board members, this is Ann. It would be incredibly helpful if you could have as much robust conversation on the record as possible, because all of us as staff are trying to learn from these decisions so that we can apply your thinking to future decisions. So as much conversation as possible would be greatly appreciated.
Jocelyn Cook, looking at his history, I feel with the sales positions that would have a lot of exposure to financials and budgeting. And then as admissions, that would have, with his experience there at Umpqua Valley admissions, you would have exposure to the types of residents, the needs, medications, orders. And then now working as an executive director, the applicant has seen full operations of senior living.
So this is Derek Volts, the current qualification analyst at the Health Licensing Office. I just want to confirm that you all are comfortable with each position that he's held as a qualifying position. Are there any on there that you feel that would not qualify?
I do have a question. The Director of Services for Advantage Home Care, does it specify what services, or is just the Director of Home Care Services? Sorry, this is Drusty.
Thanks, Drusty.
This is Derek. In the information provided, it does not clarify. So all we have is Director of Services. we can always reach out to him and try to get additional information if you feel that that's in question.
The reason I'm asking, because he does have a couple years of experience, and even if it is overseeing the home health care services, I would say that that experience has exposure to multiple different things, from managing to scheduling, knowing the needs of the residents or clients. So it would be helpful to know if it was managing home care.
Okay, and I also think part of the reason why we did not dig into it any further is because it is past that 5-year mark. So even if it was approved experience, it technically would not count. But moving forward, getting any direction on that position in general will help us out. So
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Ann, members. One of the things we've struggled with is words mean things, right? And we see health or social service related. And we get somebody who was a marketing person or was involved in selling the facility. And we've been trying to bridge that gap. How is that helping someone's healthcare, or how is that social services? And so what you're saying is if they're in charge of certain things, even if they have those positions, that would count as health or social service?
This is Drusty again. I would say it depends. And again, I'm not sure, like, if you all look at the job descriptions, but sometimes it all depends on the company. There's some sales and marketing directors who have more exposure to that health aspect of it than others. So I think it would depend on the job description.
This is David. I would concur with that statement. They do tend to work very closely with discharge planners in the hospital. And so in that aspect, they would have a strong background of that. And you know, an administrator doesn't need to be a clinician.
Oh, I understand that, Mr. Lewis. This is Ann. We have to go by the statutory requirements, and the statute calls for professional or managerial in a health or social service. So we're trying to make sure that even though they might you know what I'm saying? What
Yeah, no, I get
words
it.
do we need to see so that we're in compliance with our statutes?
Totally understood. Because it's education / experience. That's the reason this has been kicked to the board and not simply denied from the state. Is that is that a correct understanding?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is Bob. Yeah, some of the positions held to us, who are not in the profession, don't understand what duties would be included in what a position, any specific position is held. You know, with sales and marketing, having something to do with discharge from hospitals, I would have never thought. I think of newspapers and television and things like that.
Right. Salesmanship rather than managing clients directly.
Yeah. So with if I'm hearing everything correct, we need to obtain from this applicant a position description, or if we don't already have it. And if it does include actual client care, then he would be approved. I see Tina's hand up.
Are you talking
Tina?
about his experience outside of the 5 years?
Oh, that's okay. So his other
Yeah.
issue is the 5-year mark.
Yeah, but they're looking at his other experience.
This is Derek. He does have experience in sales and marketing director that's in that time frame. So
So we need to obtain additional position information.
This is David again, so that we can be have our due diligence, but also expedite.
Yes.
Is there a way for this board to approve provided sufficient job description is given? So it, in September, we're not having another meeting on this, so that we can kind of green light for the our state workers.
I'm not quite following you.
When we're saying we need this additional information, does that mean you have to get the additional information and then come back to this board, or can it just be the additional information is sufficient then that this board says go ahead and grant?
So, yeah, I think if I'm understanding this particular applicant, because I don't remember them all, is we needed clarity on what the positions entailed, what his duties were, and if they are in what I'm hearing, and they were actually doing some sort of patient care or client care, then no, we wouldn't have to bring it back to the board. But if he
Okay.
wasn't, then we would deny it.
Yeah, so if he was strictly in sales and he had nothing to do with client transition from hospitals or any kind of patient plan or anything like that, if he was just selling spots and didn't interface with the patients, that would be a negative. But if he did, do you think that is sufficient to grant licensure?
Hoskins and I believe, yes.
This is David. I would
This is-
concur.
This is Strasty. I agree.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
Not at this point. We have several more to go. And then, so what my intent is to break them all out, because you'll have groups that you approve and possibly groups that you don't. And then, so we'll just call this one out specifically at the end.
That
Awesome.
asking for additional information.
Yeah.
This is Hoskins, but I believe, according to what is described in the referral letter, that this applicant would qualify. That's my opinion.
Oh, okay. So I hear Tanya saying he qualifies. I believe Sam early on said that this applicant qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else agree?
Sam
Or
is-
disagree?
Weiss agrees.
I agree.
I
This is
agree.
Corey.
Jocelyn agrees.
Yeah,
Oh.
I just looked at that letter again, and this is David. I would agree.
Okay.
Oh. That's great.
Thank you very much. Okay, if everybody's ready to move on, we can discuss applicant 173036.
Weiss, this person doesn't show any experiences, and especially not in the last 2 out of 5, and has no degree.
Thank you, Sam. Anybody else?
This is Hoskins. I'm having a hard time opening it again.
What's the applicant number again, please? This is David.
It is 173036.
Got it. Thank you.
And Tanya, if you maybe try refreshing and then try to reopen it.
This is Drusty. I agree with Sam. The education qualifications are not meeting, and also the experience is not there within the last 5 years.
This is Jocelyn. I agree. The experience isn't there.
So this is Derek. So as a board, you don't feel that the home manager position rises to the level of approved experience. Is that correct?
Correct, because I believe it's tough, you know. Yeah, I just have a hard
Also,
time with it just because it's hard to understand the scope of, you know, what this would entail. Is this a actual business like an LLC or something that is being run, or am I helping out a friend, you know?
this is Drusty. Also, it looks like the experience is past that five-year mark.
This is Sam. I think the experience needs to be in a facility that this person would be a licensed administrator for, and that just doesn't show that kind of experience. Which important is knowing the administrative rules requiring the operation of such a facility.
This is Hoskins. I'm looking at the memory care director position and managing roughly 25 staff and 70 residents. Wouldn't that give that some qualification?
If we're not, yeah, I mean, if there's no definitive time frame, so if in the last 2 years, I'm not making any sense, right? But so she's worked for 5-6 months as a memory care director in the last 5 years, and as a whole, that's it, then does that qualify?
I read the dates wrong, so Jocelyn, I would agree. It was only like 6 months. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So this is Derek again. Do you feel that there's any benefit in reaching out to this applicant to try to get more information about her position as a home manager to see if she qualifies, or do we feel that it's not worth pursuing?
I mean, if this is based off of essentially, you know, when we talk about healthcare experience or social services, if it's healthcare related, is it just within the realm of CBC? And if it's in the realm of CBC, then is this a licensed care home type thing, or is this employment through DHS? You know, is there any oversight already over this, or is this a position where there is no oversight right now? And that's where I mean, it could be worth clarifying, because I think it's two different aspects when we're looking at experience, when you've had accountability and oversight versus I help a friend out and I take care of them in their home.
Yeah, on the current home manager, I agree. The house manager in 2018 to 2020 is a licensed group home, because they talk about DSPs, they talk about Oregon administrative regulations.
Right, but we're right at the tip of out of that 5-year.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But then memory care director, that is within the 5 years. And if they scheduled, hired, fired, trained, and managed 25 staff in a memory care, that to me,
right, but it's not 2
that
years
yeah.
worth. Right? Isn't that how the rule reads? It has to be 2 years of experience.
That's correct.
So what we would need then would be the home manager of where, and was this licensed or non-licensed, right?
That's just my personal opinion. I think there's a big difference when you have regulatory oversight for having experience doing this. I could say I've had 10 years experience raising a child and raising a home, you know, taking care of finances, you know.
Yeah,
But that's
well,
different than having experience working under a oversight body.
this is David. I'm comfortable if the home manager is a licensed home, even if it's one of those small group homes. I'm comfortable with that as proper experience. If this is an unlicensed, I was helping, you know, my uncle get along or whatever, I would agree that the experience lacks here. I think it all hinges on that December 22 to January 25 experience.
Hoskins, and I agree with David.
This is Sam. I'd like to just in general say we are relying on somebody writing a application or endorsement for an application, and they don't seem to always understand the information that is required. So to some degree, we are approving or disapproving on how well the application was prepared. In this particular case, however, it doesn't seem to be a residential care facility because a adult foster home or care home with 5 residents is a complete different set of rules than an assisted living or residential care facility or skilled nursing facility. And so to me, I read this as being not in a residential care facility as such.
I don't think it does either, Sam. But where I think we need to give the fair inquiry is she makes the note that it does say personal care, that there's care plans for the fill-in staff and scheduling. And so if she is a private DSP, so that does hold oversight type of a position, correct? To where I think just for clarification, fairness, just, you know, I guess to me that also holds some kind of an accountability and oversight, right? If you're being employed as a DSP, like through the state or an agency of some sort. That was just kind of my thinking too.
I understand, but you know, I'm kind of thinking in terms of if you have a bachelor's degree in an appropriate area, it doesn't require that you have any of that 2 out of 5 year experience. It's a this or that. And just because you have a degree doesn't tell me that you have any experience in what an administrator would be doing. So are we really comparing and looking for comparable background?
But and Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, it's that first part is the or situation, right? So it's either the experience, 2 years in the last 5, or a degree, or a combination of both, or is it and a degree?
It's an or. One or the other is how I read it.
Actually, the family did write a letter here. It's on the 6th page of the applicant packet that dives into a little bit more of what was provided.
This is Ann, and the earlier.
Go ahead.
Okay. The way the rule reads is that everybody has to fill out an application, right, and pay fees. Everyone has to submit proof of being at least 21 years old, and they have to submit evidence of a high school diploma or its equivalent, that's a GED, or obviously below passage of the high school equivalency test, which is the GED, or graduation from a post-secondary institution. And then once you prove, your age and your level of education, you have to prove you were either employed in a professional or managerial capacity. And when this was being passed, the proponents were talking about like high level in a field related to health or social service for at least 2 of the last 5 years. So it has to be current experience, or you've earned a bachelor's degree in a health or social service related field, or you have a combination. And that combination, early on, we had people with a master's degree in social work or whatever, but they hadn't really got a lot of experience. Or we had people with 15 years of running residential care, maybe even in another state, but they started working before the educational requirements were there. So they had a ton of experience, relevant experience, but they didn't really have a lot of the education piece. And that's where that combination thing allows us to go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It does. In looking at the app, it says education, BS Science, Practical Nursing, and there's a transcript for high school, but there's no transcript for the Bachelor of Science. David, does that make any sense, my question?
Hi, this is Michael. This person is currently in school. They are in their first year of their bachelor or their nursing program, if that helps.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. In other words, okay, they should not have said Bachelor of Science. They should have said first year student, blah, 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 because they have not achieved their Bachelor of Science. Got it.
This is
Well,
Hoskins. I'm going to say with her being enrolled in nursing and the letter of recommendation, I would say this candidate is appropriate.
This is Derek. So would you still like us to confirm about her current experience as a house manager to see if that was in any sort of licensed facility or see if she had any sort of oversight? Or do we feel as is she qualifies?
I think given the letter, it sounds very much like this was a personal one-on-one situation and not a licensed area.
This is Sam. I didn't read it as somebody with experience in a residential care facility with the appropriate licensing. And if you're in 1 year of a 4 or so year program to get a degree, you still do not have a degree to take part of the experience 2 out of 5.
This is Patel, and also going back to the issue statement, when we are referring to experience, it talks about prior performance in administration, including planning, organizing, directing, staffing, budgeting of a licensed long-term care facility. But I know it does say it has to be a licensed facility. So I don't know if the experience in the home care setting counts.
I thoroughly agree, because this is Sam. To me, part of the requirements is, does this person have an understanding of the OERs that apply to the facility that you would be a licensed administrator for? And that does not show in this particular case.
This is Ann. If it's helpful, one of the things that before they're licensed, they have to pass an Oregon laws and rules exam. Correct, Michael?
This is Michael. Yeah, that's correct. In addition to that, there would be a 40-hour ALF
Yeah.
RCF course they would have to complete also.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's where they get their specific knowledge of the OIRs.
But this is Sam. That's before or after they've been approved to even take that exam.
This is Tina. All the applicants have to do the Oregon laws and rules and the training prior to enrollment, prior to application.
That's not included in the requirements as I've read it.
Michael?
This is Michael. Yeah, there's other requirements that we're not discussing because those aren't really under, we're not concerned with those. They're pretty clear and cut. They do have to do a 40-hour course. They do have to pass the Oregon laws and rules exam.
But this is Sam, but the application, does it indicate that they actually have completed that successfully?
I can double check on that individual, but I believe all of them have done the 40-hour courses.
So we can make the safe assumption they've all completed the course, all passed the state exam if we're looking at the app this morning, correct?
Correct. They can also do it at a later time, but really we're just looking to have their experience and or
Yeah.
education qualified.
Right.
This is Derek. So in order to obtain that license, they will have had to have completed the training course and the exam. So they don't necessarily have to do it before they apply, but before they obtain a license, they will have to complete those requirements.
So this is Sam. The applications that we're looking at, I got the impression that the approval of that allows them to take that exam because there's no indication the completion of that is included in the requirement to apply. Let's put it that way.
This is Michael. It is an application requirement. I just don't believe we put that particular part of the rules in here because it's not under question.
Well, it's approved, but is it approved for the admission that we are looking at to see whether or not this person is qualified to get a license?
I think we need to obtain, the individual has to have everything, including the 40 hours and the test, to be issued a license. So if they're missing one element, then they won't get a license.
Yes, but this is Sam, we are looking at whether or not they are an applicant to be considered for a license.
Yeah, but you're correct. But we're looking, so the issue is the experience. The experience, the testing and the 40 hours are not in question, Sam. It is specifically the experience and potentially the education that we need assistance with. But if they're missing any part of any of the requirements, they wouldn't get a license until they took the 40 hours, till they took the tests, till we had, they've already applied. And we're trying to determine whether or not the qualifications they've put forth saying that they do qualify are in fact enough experience, enough qualifications to issue them the license upon completion of the 40 hours and the test.
This is David. I realize that, if somebody was black and white, that they weren't qualified, we wouldn't be looking at them. if they are 100% qualified, would the board consider it appropriate for someone to go ahead and make a motion now?
Well, I mean,
Well, a recommendation, not a
Okay.
motion, but a recommendation.
yeah,
I think given all of that, I would be in favor of this person being approved. And I don't mind saying that to this group. I say that a little bit holding my breath, but if it wasn't a gray area, we wouldn't be looking at it anyway.
right. I guess, can I ask you to clarify holding your breath? Sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, David.
No,
Just,
no. You know, I wish they had stronger
Okay.
background. I also know that there are a lot of small mom and pop RCFs and ALs around Oregon that aren't going to have somebody with 20 years experience and a master's degree doing it. My mother was in one and passed away in one and had very, very, very good care. And so, having been a customer in Oregon as well as an administrator in Oregon, I do have a little bit of both views. So, yeah, I wish they had more, but I think they deserve the opportunity to be successful and to do it. So that's what I mean by holding my breath.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, hey, this is open discussion. We should all be transparent.
This is Patel. I agree with what David said. However, I also have a different I have a different viewpoint, having put a family member in a community recently. I do think experience matters. I completely understand giving someone an opportunity, but senior living and RCF and assisted living in general, they're becoming more and more complex, and putting someone who may not have certain experience, they're not going to be successful. And it concerns me for the care of people under them. That's my opinion on it.
This is Sam.
Is that an A or nay opinion? Because that's, I qualified mine with holding breath. I wasn't sure
That
is
is
that
a
A or
nay.
nay
That
on
is
your
a
coming
that is
down.
that is a nay opinion on
Okay.
on this applicant.
Sam,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I'm a little confused because now I'm hearing, well, we can assume some things other than what's in the written document that we are looking at. And if that's the case, then we'll approve all of them and we'll just assume that they have the experience, whether they indicate it or not. And I don't think that's our purpose. I think the purpose of our looking at these applications is it documented that they actually do have the experience necessary to take the exam and to approve receiving an administrator's license.
This is Michael. Of the applications we get, 99% of them have already done the 40-hour course, which is rather expensive. In addition, they've also done the Oregon Laws and Rules exam. They don't need any authorization from this office to sign up for those, if that helps.
But Michael, do we know that they passed them?
Yes, they provide documentation showing that they've done the courses. For the 40 hours, it's through Leading Age or OCA. They get a certificate when they've completed that. It includes their name. For the online laws and rules exam, they just sign into Workday, take the course. There's a certificate of completion at the end. And they provide that information to us.
But the OAR that we're looking at, does it indicate what you're just saying, or do we assume it?
You may just be seeing a portion of the OAR, which includes 2 of the last 5 years of health or social service related professional managerial experience, or a 4-year degree that's health or social service related. There's other things they do have to do as well, like get fingerprints, This is all stuff that it is in addition to that.
But we don't have anything to read in these applications that tell us whether they have passed those exams to give us the knowledge that they have the experience. We're just relying on, is there documented experience?
These applicants will be issued a license if their experience and or education is deemed to be health or social service related.
Tina?
I was going to say the reason why we didn't put that section in there is because that's not what you would be evaluating. You're evaluating their experience and their degrees, and then the rest is on HLO to determine if they have already taken their training and the laws and rules. However, 99% of every application we get, those individuals have already done that, which has been a concern that they're paying all that money to submit, to take the training courses, taking the laws and rules, and submitting their application when they haven't been determined if they qualify. But those individuals are doing that. We're just not going to bring that to you because we evaluate that, not you guys.
Okay, thank you, Tina. This is Sam. The reason we got into this whole discussion was whether or not they had the experience to understand the OERs. And so if we're not seeing the experience, but we know they passed, then what's the requirement for 2 out of 5 years?
So HLO has so we've written the exam that they provide us actual documentation from OCA. We're not presuming that they've taken the 40 hours or they've passed the exam. We have documentation in hand. But I also hear what you're saying, Sam. If I understand you correctly, we're looking at somebody's resume that says they have this experience, but is your question, is there documentation of, other than this resume, of working in a facility with 25 staff and 70 residents? Is that what your question is?
My question is, if I'm looking at the document we received,
Uh-huh.
and if we're like in a trial or judge, you can only use the evidence that's presented. You can't presume anything. And we're looking for documentation of the kind of experience. If we don't see it, how can we approve it?
Okay, so what you have here is all the documentation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. What you have here and what we've provided to the board is all the evidence that we have of experience. The training and the testing, we do have that, and we didn't want to provide it to give more information for you to consider that is not what is in question. What is in question is the training and experience, and not the training, the experience and education.
Well,
So,
this is Sam. Let me jump in again. In the OER that we refer to, it does not include whether or not they have passed those exams prior to submitting an application. So that's really kind of mute to even be discussing. The whole point is, do we have documentation of 2 out of the last 5 years in lieu of a bachelor's degree?
all the documentation we have has been provided. Tina?
That's what I was going to say. What you need to review has been provided to you. and that is experience in education. I don't think the 40 hours that they take needs to be part of your review. Now, if it is, I can go in there and have Michael check every single one of them right now, and he'll be able to tell you whether or not each of them has already taken the laws and rules and have the 40 hours. If you'd like me to do that, I'm more than happy to do that.
This is Sam. I don't think it even enters into our discussion. Our discussion is, do they have experience?
Right. I agree.
And
Do they have
if-
the experience? That's the question. And with the
Yes.
information we've provided, do you feel that's qualified information? Or not qualified, but documentation enough for you to make a decision? Or would you like to give us direction to do something else?
Either they have the resume experience for 2 out of 5,
Mhm.
or the experience in the areas that the OER indicates. That's all we are looking for.
Okay, so with this individual that we're currently looking at, 173036, there's documentation on their page 3 of being a home manager from December 22 to January 2025.
But what is a home manager? It's not a licensed care facility, is it? Or isn't it?
Let's see. 2022, 2025.
This is David. We
Yeah,
have
David.
11 applicants to consider. We have been at 1 hour almost, and we have not even completed a second one. Is there a way for us to begin to expedite this a little bit?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask the board this. With this applicant, is there any additional information that you would like to direct HLO to obtain? We have the resume and we have letters, I believe.
This is Sam. Just one more point.
Okay.
I would appreciate if all the applicants specifically identify whether they have 2 out of the last 5 years experience, or the kinds of experience that the OER requires. Some do, some do not. The ones that do not, I don't know that we could approve because we don't have the information in front of us to be able to do so.
I agree, but we don't know who's going to apply, so we just take what they have. And what we've tried to do, like with this particular individual, we build a timeline of what their experience is to the last 5 years. And her only experience that I'm seeing is she's got from December 2022 to January 2025, where there's where they managed finances, other personal care, scheduled appointments, provided transportation, and scheduling, daily needs are met. And then, so that's 22 to 25. So that's roughly 3 years. And then from March 2022 to September 22, she managed a dementia unit with 25 staff and 70 residents. And then house manager prior to that, but we get outside. So I think what we're only able to really consider, and anybody can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, is this home manager from December 2022 to January 2025. You can't consider the fact that she's in school. because she's not completed it. It's good information to have, but I don't think we can really weigh it because it's not been completed and she doesn't have that degree yet.
Hi, this is Michael. So recently this board did approve a personal assistance service out of Texas, but they did have a license. Initially, when reviewing the current applicant, you were saying there was no oversight, which would be why you were initially leaning against licensure.
Michael, thanks for bringing that up, because I would like to add that when the board is reviewing and approving these, we need to be consistent. If we're going to approve one versus another or deny.
Yeah, and this is Anne. One of the things, and the issue, if I remember correctly, Michael, with the one that you approved from Texas, I believe it was David who said that when you own a company that is providing these kinds of services, that you do have the quote higher level experience, and that's what got that individual through because they had owned like a home care company and provided guidance and supervision for employees.
Can I ask a quick question? This is Tina. So does that mean if this individual that's taking care of this child, if they filed for a LLC, that would get them there?
Well, it doesn't, there's, other than Secretary of State filing, I don't know if there's a regulatory oversight.
No, there isn't from, if you get an LLC, that doesn't really mean anything. It's just registering a name. And really, it wasn't just that she owned the company. I believe if we're still talking about the Texas individual, it was that she owned a company and employed lots, several people who then went into people's homes and provided care services. So that was considered up.
This is Michael. Yeah, she had 17 people under her employment, and they did have a health license out of Texas for personal assistance service.
I'm sorry, but if you read the front page of the Oregonian a few days ago about an owner whose facilities are so deficient, ownership doesn't mean you know a thing about the actual operation. And I have two facilities with an owner who I have to advise constantly about things that he does not understand what the OERs allow or do not allow. So ownership of a facility is not experience in actually administering one.
Michael, of the letters in this one, if you're looking at it, the letters of recommendation can you tell me if it's the one dated January 25 of 2025 that relates to her home manager experience, or is it one of the others? I'm trying to just figure that out.
Yeah, I believe that would be the one.
So in this letter, it comes from, I would assume, the client, and it's on slide 6, and it's pretty well described. It's just the dates just don't corroborate it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I was having a hard time just deciphering which was which. But in this slide, it talks about all the things she did for this individual.
This is Sam. Let's move on with just clarifying. Is a home equivalent to a licensed residential care facility?
If you're asking me, I'm going to defer to the board.
Well, I think that's the question here. Is this experience in a home? And is a home equivalent to a residential care facility?
Right. And
No.
I'm deferring. Okay. David, sorry.
Well, under Oregon, we RCFs and assisted livings are part of home community-based services, and that includes group homes. That has we're one of the few states that includes it in that particular group, but they are grouped together by Oregon on the federal home community-based services. And so I would say if it's a licensed home, yes. If it is a private duty one-on-one, no. But David's opinion, one person, is that they would fall under the same, even though the difference is dramatic. Oregon has seen fit to put them under the same rubric.
I agree. I don't think she qualifies.
Corey or Drusty?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she qualifies.
I agree.
Okay, let's take a look at applicant 173168.
This is Sam. This one applies correctly. This one is one I would pass.
Okay. Anybody else? David, I'm sorry, I think I talked over you again.
No, you did fine. Yeah, I'm familiar with Friends of You, and it's a life plan community. And their experience there, to me, speaks pretty highly. I apologize. They're at a place that is a multi-level.
This is Michael.
Jocelyn, I think he qualifies based on his experience at Friendsview.
However, Michael?
Yeah, so there's a couple with sales and marketing. Would we just say somebody with sales and marketing experience for a long-term care facility qualifies as professional, managerial, health-related experience?
I would say so. Sorry, that was Jocelyn.
This is Derek. Would there ever be an instance where someone in that position would not qualify?
If it was somebody's personal home they were selling, I think we're looking at is this experience
I think
in
85
healthcare, right? So if they were selling timeshares, no, I don't think that would qualify.
Totally agree with that statement. But within healthcare, and especially, and there's a little difference between independent living sales and healthcare sales as far as how much direct involvement in resident analysis would be. But there's certainly management within that either way.
Okay. The appropriate type of management?
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
This is David.
So, okay, he continues to be in that position. All right, so for 173168, sounds like when we go and we do board action, this one is approved to issue.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're picking up the pace. 174171.
This has nothing other than a degree. There's no indication of experience.
This is Michael. This is yeah, they only have the degree. They don't have any experience that they've provided that is health or social service related. or any experience that they provided at all, they believed this would be sufficient.
But a degree alone is sufficient, correct?
Yes, Hoskins,
That's-
yes.
So to me, he qualifies.
Hoskins agrees.
Michael, what is
Chantel
their,
agrees.
this is Anne, what is the degree in this individual?
It's
Management and marketing. It's a bachelor's in management.
management
marketing.
and entrepreneurship.
That's where we would ask, okay, if they don't have any specific experience, like if they were doing marketing, like you said, for, you know, in patient interface and things like that, if he's just coming out of school with marketing, is that a health or social service related field? And that's where we get stuck, is how can marketing, unless you have specific experience, you know, in that setting, in a long-term care setting or nursing home setting, how would you know anything about that ecosystem coming from a marketing background? And we're not saying it doesn't, but we're just needing your help to say, if it does, help us get there. But if it, you know, if it doesn't, tell us why.
You're right. This is Jocelyn. I forgot the little added fine print of health or social service related field.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
see, and it's
Okay.
the related thing. Thank you for clarifying. I mean, one of the things that we get, and I'll say this because, you know, Michael's so polite. Folks will go to great lengths to explain how their degree or their experience is related. And I've heard a lot of, I think you would call it a stretch. And so again, there's all these little qualifiers that are in there. It has to be health or social service related. And so with that in mind, does this person get there?
This is Sam. This one doesn't.
This is David. I agree with Sam. If they even had a practicum at a place, but you know, there's nada here. And the degree's not related, and you know, they don't have 10 minutes in an assisted living that we have been given.
This is Hoskins, and I agree after that clarification.
This is Jocelyn. I agree after that as well.
Next one.
Okay. The next one is applicant 174591.
This is Michael. So this one's very similar to the previous one, and there's one or two more that were similar to both of these, so we might be able to get through those ones pretty quickly.
Yes, this one looks like Director of Marketing and Sales. And it speaks about strategic planning, leadership, revenue management, financial oversight, staffing and team leadership, community relations, collaboration with the executive from Roots Living.
This one checks off on all three criteria that I'm looking at.
This is Hoskins, and I would approve this one.
Jocelyn, I
This is
approve.
This is Patel, agree.
David?
David, I concur. I would
Okay.
approve.
This is Corey. I agree.
Thank you. Okay, next one then, 174825.
This one doesn't.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the number?
Yes, I'm sorry, I did go fast. 174825. And this is Bob, by the way.
Thank you.
This is Sam. This one doesn't check off in any of the criteria for me.
Did we have a food manager previously? Michael?
We did. They were like a director of diet or dining services or something like that. The board at that time did not issue a license.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Sam, at what part of, oh, I'm sorry, David. I did
No,
it
go
again.
ahead. Go ahead.
At what
No, go ahead.
part, Sam, do you think that this doesn't qualify?
Well, the process I used, I checked off whether it appeared to be 2 out of 5 years, that it had experience, and also whether or not there was a bachelor's degree. And this had none of those.
So it looks like she's still there at Human Good Life as a certified dietary manager. So that could count. Could that, folks, count as her medical or health? I'm sorry. And in the dining room supervisor.
I have such a position that works under me, under my food and beverage director. This is David. And I think this very much does qualify. The person's been there since 2014 in that position. So they certainly have the number of years. They would be managing cooks, managing wait staff. They would be dealing with budget. They would be dealing with clinical weight loss, weight gain, specialized diets. And so to me, they would check the box on with, they don't have the education, but they do, provided they have high school GED, I think their experience qualifies them.
This is Jocelyn. I agree.
Hoskins, I agree.
And Hillside is also a CCRC here, and well-respected place in McMinnville.
Okay.
This is Sam. Could you explain to me the interface with residents to the point of knowing care, staffing
Sure.
of care, not kitchen?
Is it okay if I address that?
Yes, David, please. Thank you.
Yeah. That person is responsible for knowing the resident choices because we're under obligation and smart business, but even under legal obligation to provide a resident's desires as well as their nutritional needs. So if they needed a mechanical soft diet, that would be one of the requirements. But if they always like chocolate ice cream at the end of their meal, so the dietary manager would end up knowing each resident in that area and would know that they, hate hot dogs but love bratwurst, and all of those kinds of individual choices. They would know, like I said, weight gains, weight losses. If there's anything greater than, I believe it is I forget how many pounds or a percentage of weight loss, that then triggers a change in care plan, and that person will be involved in that as well. They work with the registered dietitian, it says here, so they're working with that person. I said, I've got 4 restaurants here, and one of my in the licensed area, and like I said, they are a certified dietary manager also, so I know the training. But yeah, if they're doing it right, they are interacting with staff. They're also interacting not just with the kitchen staff, but with the caregivers, because those are the people who know the resident the best.
This is
So
Justine. I also want to
they're
add.
heavily involved. I'm
This
sorry,
is
what?
Justine. I just also want to add they're also heavily involved in the survey process, so they are very
Mhm.
familiar with that health aspect. Kitchens get surveyed once a year, and then there's a licensing survey that happens every 2 years, and the kitchen and the dining room managers are very much part of it.
This is Sam. I understand each of the things that David pointed out. But I would point out it's the nursing staff that provides that information. The kitchen staff does not go out and determine the things that David says that they do. They only respond to what the nursing staff has provided them. And therefore, to me, that is not experience in care.
This is Jocelyn. I mean, that's the same for me as a licensed administrator. I mean, I have to interact with the nursing in the same capacity that a dietary manager would as well. A dietary manager also sits heavily within the interdisciplinary team, just the same as a social services director, a resident care manager, activities director. They're around that table in that conversation as part of this person has a skin or wound issue and they cannot sit in their chair for more than 2 hours. What does that mean for dining? What does that mean for activities? This person has behaviors. What does that mean for dining? You know, like they're interacting with all aspects of clinical care, even when it doesn't specifically have to do with making food in the kitchen. There's so much more that gets folded into that when you're a member of the interdisciplinary chair. If we're perfectly okay with sales directors that aren't at that table, then to be a dietary, I would rather have the dietary manager as part of that, you know, pool of potential licensed administrators, you know.
This is Hoskins, and
This is
I
Rusty.
agree. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rusty.
No, go ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to add too that, you know, we talk about there is the clause on there for staffing, and a dietary manager has to staff her kitchen and is in charge of making sure that she has enough efficient staff every day too. I just wanted to include that. And I agree exactly with Jocelyn in all of the things that a dietary manager does, and they are very important to the care of our residents.
Thanks,
This
Tanya.
is
Drosty?
I just wanted to add that administrators don't have to have nursing background. They have to have some sort of healthcare related experience and exposure. And I do feel that dietary manager has a lot of that.
Yeah, it doesn't say healthcare as a practitioner, Sam. It just the rule says capacity in a managerial capacity in a field related to health or social service.
This is
I
Michael.
agree.
Okay.
So the board a few months ago did decline a regional director of dietary services. Would you say that they were just too far removed from personal care for it to be considered health related?
I believe that was for a skilled nursing license, which I think might have had different parameters. I can't remember. I want to say that was for an NF license. Maybe I'm wrong, but
It would have been for an RCF administrator.
Yes, we haven't had you guys review, this is Ann, we haven't had you guys review any nursing home applicants.
was it also like under corrective action? Was it for reinstatement or was it just strictly for, I felt like there was some more other hot takes around that applicant. I can't quite remember though.
Michael, was this the individual that was the chef?
Correct,
Meaning,
but I think that they'd gotten up to like regional director or something like that. However, they had recently been like a resident services coordinator, and we're getting close to hitting that 2-year mark.
But do we
But they
see that
did-
in this application?
the one from not this one, but the other one previously, Sam, is that the one you're asking about? Because we
No.
brought that to the board. It's not in this
Yeah.
package.
The 825 that we're looking at, do we actually see the words similar to what Michael was just telling us?
Well, this one seems more health related to me, which is why I brought it to the board instead of lumping it in with the previous one. So I'm just trying to figure out what the delineation would be between the two. And I can try to pull that up so that we can take a look at the old Full decision.
This is a department director within a licensed area. And like everyone else has said, the interdisciplinary team, management, budget. I think they check all the boxes.
I agree. This is Corey.
I think it's very clear.
I think what you were getting at, Michael, was, are we contradictory?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is Bob. That is our concern.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure for future applications that we're giving them equal consideration.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I just remember something specific that we all felt wasn't good enough, but I can't remember.
Okay, so am I hearing to approve 825? So 174825, sorry.
I do not approve.
Okay.
Sam does not approve.
Hoskins, I approve.
David Lewis
Corey, I
approves.
approve.
Sorry. David approves.
Okay.
Jocelyn
So
approves.
okay, very good.
Trustee approved.
With hesitation, I worry about the other applicant. Is there any way to is that appropriate to review that at another date or something, or review? I don't know.
We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda, so we really can't. We can make you aware, but we're not going to discuss it.
Sounds good.
Okay, 175118.
This is Sam. This one does not show me the experience.
I just want to disclose that I have worked with this applicant up until January of this year. And so I want to make sure I remain fair and firm and all of that. Or if I just sit this one out, I'm not sure.
Let's see. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you can sit this one out.
Okay, thank you.
We have quorum. So early on, I think I heard Sam say no to this one. Any additional discussion?
This is Hoskins. I would agree with Sam. I don't think this applicant.
Next one.
Let me check with David and Drosty and the other board members before we move. Any additional discussion, or are you concurring?
This is Corey. I concur.
Concur with Sam.
I also concur.
Okay.
I was just flipping through some additional notes on it. I concur.
Not a problem. All right, next applicant, 175477.
I approve this one.
I lost sound for a moment. Can I get the number again, please?
Sure. 175477.
Thank you.
This is Sam. I approve this one, especially because of the AIT.
Okay.
Hoskins, I approve.
Book, I approve.
This is Derek. I just want to clarify. So you guys approve both types of experience? So the director of maintenance is considered approved experience?
As much as the kitchen.
Mainly the AIT program.
Yeah, that's for me as well, that year as the AIT.
This is Michael. Yeah, so I was thinking the maintenance experience didn't count, but they're not quite at the 2 years for the AIT portion of having worked there. So that was my concern.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I was going to ask, this is Bob. I was going to ask if the board was considering the mechanical piece of this, the maintenance, what would a maintenance director do? Would it apply at all? I mean, any communication with clients, with health staff?
They're involved in, for sure, the, financial scheduling, all of that stuff. I would say their interaction with the care team would be safety, making sure that things are in good repair and order. They're very familiar with the survey process and all of the responsibilities with that. I would say maybe safety is the biggest piece, but that can be really wide as far as their equipment, mobility, beds, all of that good stuff.
This is Drosty. I agree with everything Jocelyn said, but also similar to that sales position, every company does maintenance a little different. So it can vary from being heavily involved in regulations, safety component, interaction with the staff on what the resident needs are, safety concerns, mobility assisted devices to, maintenance directors or assistants who are solely focused on building operations.
This is Hoskins, and I agree with what both Justin and Drosty has included.
Okay. All right. If there's no additional discussion, we will discuss applicant 175679.
This is Sam. I see no experience indicated, or not sufficient experience indicated here, and no degree in lieu of.
For this one, I do see experience throughout, but not what we are looking for within that 5 year that meets the requirement to be an administrator.
This is Cook. I agree. We don't have the 2 years within 5.
This is Michael.
This is
So
David. I would concur with that also.
Thanks, David. Michael?
So it's the home care management that we're not liking, like the previous applicant.
I think this kind of falls under that same thought of, is this that, a licensed DSP or not?
Thank you for that.
So not approve, deny. Who did I miss? Drosty or Tanya, David, anything? Or Corey?
I agree to not approve.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
I agree
Corey.
too.
I agree.
Okay. Moving on, 175694.
Sam sees this one meets all the requirements.
For me, I feel like it's the, bachelor's degree, that's in business. And then the only work experience that was the underwear company referral. So to me, the degree doesn't meet, and she doesn't have any experience within healthcare, social services.
This is Drosty. If I'm not mistaken, isn't the degree, it says major in psychology?
For clarification, we are looking at 175694. I didn't see that. Business administration from Arkansas. Oops, gosh,
Oh,
gosh darn it.
I apologize. I'm the wrong one.
Okay.
So as cook, I don't approve.
Hoskins, don't approve.
Okay.
David, do not approve.
Thank you.
Drosty, do not approve.
Thank you very much. The next
Corey,
one is Corey. I'm sorry, I was talking over you.
Oh, no, that's all right. I just said I don't approve either.
Okay, thank you. This is Bob, 175820.
This one doesn't have the experience, have a degree, but no experiences.
I agree with Sam. This is Hoskins, sorry.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Concur. There's David.
Is is psychology fitting a social services bill? Because I'm looking at her actual transcript of undergrad work and it's all psychology. And I just wasn't sure if that, would you have a bachelor's in psychology or would it be a bachelor of science with a specialization in, XYZ?
Why?
The criteria is to have a degree, doesn't.
Degree itself, not say Bachelor of Science. There's no.
No
Study
evidence
then?
of employment, I think, is our hook here.
Health or social services related. Psychology, I think, is social services.
I think this is Hoskins. I think that was a nice catch. Psychology is part of social services, but I think this person still lacks any experience. But does have the,
Yeah,
but does have the degree, but does have the degree. So yeah, that kind of changes things.
This is Drosty. Based on the degree, I would say this person would qualify under, I guess, education under social services with degree in psychology.
This is Hoskins. I agree.
This is Bob. Let me read the rule to you, please. To qualify for a residential care facility administrator license, an applicant must submit proof of being employed in a professional or managerial capacity in a field related to health or social service for at least 2 years out of the last 5 years, comma, have earned at least a bachelor's degree in a health or social service related field, or have a combination of both experience and education deemed sufficient. by the office. So, I think she's missing any experience.
But
This
do
is
you have
Dusty.
to have
Didn't we,
experience? Sorry, go ahead, Drasty.
I was just gonna say, didn't we just move someone forward just with the degree earlier?
Yeah, Bob, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure a degree is part of it.
They're all
Or-
or statements. It's
Yeah, or a
Okay.
combination.
experience or degree, or I wish it had the, the and or in there because it is confusing.
Bob, this is Sam. Would you please reiterate which one we're looking at?
I'm sorry. Yes, we are looking at 175-820.
Bob, this is Ann. The way it's worded is that you have to have, obviously everyone has to submit that they passed high school, got a GED, or graduated from a post-secondary institution. And then you have to prove you were employed in a professional or managerial capacity in a field related to health or social service for at least 2 of the last 5 years. So that's professional experience. Or having earned at least a bachelor's degree in a health or social service related field, or having a combination of experience and educated deemed sufficient. So you
Okay.
can have a qualifying degree, pass the laws and rules, and do your fingerprint check and all that, or you can have the experience or a combination of the two. Is that
Okay.
helpful?
Yes.
This is David. This person has a psychology degree. That's they qualify.
Okay. Then we will move on to 176-186.
This one is approval to me. Sam, yes. Lots of experience.
I agree. She is approved based off of her work history back from 2021 with this company as sales and marketing director.
Hoskins and I agree.
David and I agree.
This is Corey. I agree.
Okay, thank you. If I may go back to 175-820, that was approved, correct? Bachelor or with the psychology degree?
No,
No?
Yeah, I thought we did.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, I
so.
thought we did too.
820, there was no indication of experience.
But with the degree, it seemed it was their experience isn't required.
If they have a degree in a social service area, they don't have to have any experience according to the OAR.
You don't have to have the 2 out of 5, but they do have to have some experience.
No, Sam, they
No,
do
sir.
not.
No, sir, they do not. That's incorrect. They don't have to have any experience. We might want them to, but they don't have to have any.
Okay.
Okay. 176-294.
Oh,
Ann, did you have something?
yeah, I did. I wanted to, on 176-186, what was the outcome on that one?
Which
Approved.
one? Oh,
Approved?
approve. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. So we're on to 176294.
correct.
Thank you.
294. My gathering indicates I don't know that any of the criteria was met.
This is Drosty. Based on the undergraduate degree in psychology, I believe this person meets their qualifications.
No, wait, we're talking about 294, aren't we?
Just for clarification, they haven't obtained a degree. They've attended numerous universities, but they don't have a degree currently.
Okay, so to clarify, she does not have a degree, and the only work experience we have is just since April of 2024.
Correct, unless you want to include some of her education as qualifying, but then we get into how do we measure that?
I don't approve this one.
Hoskins, I don't approve.
With that clarification, I don't approve.
Yeah.
Who was
without the
that just spoke?
It was Drosty.
Okay, thank you, Drosty. I apologize. And I think it was you, Corey.
Yeah, I said without the degree, that kind of changes everything. I don't approve.
This is David, and I would also not approve.
Okay, we got one more to go.
Nope, I think that was it. 294 was the last one.
Did we do 133379?
That one, at the beginning, I amended the agenda to remove that.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. What I will do is I will make some motions, and I will need someone
Excuse me,
other than Sam. Go ahead.
we have not done 175679.
175679.
Right.
That one. I thought we did that one because I have denied by it.
Yeah, I have a non-approval on that one.
Mhm.
Same.
Okay. I had checked it off. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So what I'll do, or if the board's okay with it, is I will make a motion for not approve and read the numbers, and then approve and read those numbers. So we'll have two motions. And then what I'll need is a board member to second or to approve, and then one to second, except for Sam, because he's the chair. Are we ready?
Yes.
And if you'll
Yes.
follow along with me to make sure I get them right, please.
Okay, let me, hold on, let me scroll up. So are you starting with approval or disapproval, Mr. Bothwell?
I am going to start with approval because that's the first one.
Okay, so let it rip.
Okay. In reference to applicants 172962, 173168, 174591, 174825, 175477, 175820, 176186 to approve issuing a license.
Hoskins approved.
A
This is
second,
Corey, I
please.
second it.
Thank you, Corey. Did you get that, Ann?
Yes, sir, I did. And all your
Okay.
numbers were correct.
Yay. And so I'll do roll call real quick. Yay or nay? Sam Weiss,
Yay.
David Lewis,
David, can you hear us?
it looks like he froze.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I'll come back to him. Josti Patel,
Yay.
Jocelyn Cook,
Yay.
Corey Krisman,
Yay.
Tanya Hoskins.
Yay.
Dave?
We might want to wait, Bob. I think Mr. Lewis is going to try to reconnect.
Okay.
Do we want to get a vote on him, or would we like to move on?
It looks like he bumped off. Let's see if he comes back. Give it a second.
Okay. We still have quorum, correct? Do we have a licensed residential care facility person on the board present?
Yes, this is Drosty.
Thank you,
Yes.
Josty.
And Tanya Hoskins.
Perfect. Yes, we have statutory requirements that folks that are licensed have to be present for decisions.
Okay. Josh, is David trying to come back in? I heard a beep.
Yeah, I just admitted him.
Okay.
It's just taking a second.
Thank you, Josh.
Problem. There he is.
I apologize. I got kicked off with bad connectivity.
Fantastic. Glad to
problem.
have you back.
I heard the numbers on the approval and
Okay, are you all right with the
I heard the-
approval?
I am, yes, I on the approvals.
Okay.
Okay, so that's unanimous, Bob, and so we can move on to listing the numbers of applicants that fall in the non-approval category.
Okay. And David, for bandwidth, you might want to turn your camera off.
Yeah, that sucks up bandwidth like
Good
nothing
point.
else.
Yep.
Okay, let
Okay.
me get up to the top of my list, Bob.
All right.
Okay, continue, thank you.
And in reference to applicants numbers 173036, 174171, 175118, 175679, 175694, and 176294 to not approve issuing a license.
This is David, so move.
Can I get a second, please?
This is Corey, I second it.
Okay, now that we've done all that, Ann, did I get them all?
You sure did. So we just
Okay.
need a roll call vote.
Roll call. Sam Weiss,
Hey,
David Lewis,
Aye.
Josie Patel,
Yay.
Jocelyn Cook,
Yay.
Corey Krisman,
Yay.
and Tanya Hoskins.
Yay.
Excellent. I would like to thank everybody very much. This is going to help us greatly in moving through and approving or denying licenses. And if the board is ready, I will look for my script that I know I have and read us out.
Bob, before you do that, I just had a real quick question. This is Drosty.
Sure.
It feels like we have had increased number of applicants that we are reviewing this time around. I just wanted to know, are there applicants who are applying that are kind of in that gray area more than in the past with
I
qualification?
will let Michael or Tina answer that because they live in that world much more than I do. And I think it is true.
Yes, this is Tina, and yes, that's true.
Tina, if I may, this is Anne. Another thing that we've noticed, members of the board, are instead when this program was launched and I did it, there were a lot of folks who called up and asked questions about requirements and then went forth and took the 40-hour training or asked questions. It's my understanding, based on talking to Michael and Tina, that there are increasing number of people who take it upon themselves to take the 40-hour training, which does have a cost associated with it, and maybe even go on and take the laws and rules exam and then apply and find out that they didn't read that part and they're in a weird gray area when it comes to that part of the qualification process. So they've already taken it upon themselves to take some steps, and now they're hitting this, well, do they have enough of X or Y? Or, oh, how I've had calls, maybe Mike has too, where people will say, well, I mean, the 2 of 5 years, how literal are you? Well, it's the law. So the answer is very. Right? Well, I had a baby or I took care of a sick friend, or I mean, aren't there allowances for that? And the answer is no. That the law is the law. And so Mike might be able to elaborate, but it seems like we're getting more of those kinds of individuals.
This is
Get
Michael.
all the reasons
Yeah,
why we. Oh,
there's definitely
sorry.
been more pushback from
Mhm.
people who have been told no. Some of those were ones you reviewed today. Others, it just felt like maybe their experience qualified, maybe it didn't, but I didn't feel I was in a position to make that assessment. So I was happy to hear your guys' input on that today.
Yeah, the information that you gave on dining services and their involvement in the process and marketing people who are actually dealing with client intake and things like that, that was immensely valuable. Because on face value, how could you relate those things? And you guys drew the connection, and that's really helpful going forward.
This is Sam. I'd like to make a comment. Those people that you were referring to sound like people as an administrator would not follow the administrative rules and think that they can come up with an exception on their own that would justify not following the OERs. If that's the case, we wouldn't want them to be administrators in the first place.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Sam has one other comment. This is my last meeting, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have met and dealt with the rest of you. I hope your next sessions are as productive.
Thank you, Sam.
And Derek has his hand up, Bob.
I see that. Go ahead, Derek.
Hi, just want to kind of do I guess maybe a clarification or a summary. Is it safe to say that anyone in a director position related to a long-term care facility would qualify regardless of what that department is?
To clarify, David, are you talking about like maintenance when we came across maintenance and things like that?
Yes. So is having that director of a department enough of a title to qualify them?
I think as long as it's, sorry, go ahead, Drosty.
I was just gonna say, as long as they have those experience and it's part of their job description, it kind of goes back to the job description because every company does it differently.
So is it fair to say, for Derek's and everybody's benefit, that if we have somebody in one of these it depends categories, like dining or marketing or maintenance, we get one of those, is it fair to say we're going to need we need a job description to see if they have patient interface, or say if they're on the C-suite, they sit in on surveys and things like that? Would that be a fair step to add?
I
This
think
is
that would
like,
be
I
an
think,
excellent best practice. I'm sorry, this is David. I
yes,
think that'd
because
be an excellent best practice and would highly recommend it, and think that y'all could get from A to B pretty quickly that way.
this
This
is
is
Jocelyn, because aren't there like a listing, right, of what that experience needs to entail, right? It said like budgeting. Weren't there like listed out specific vocabulary of what the experience needs to include?
This is Sam. I believe if we have questions like that, or like we've had today, I would refer them back to the OAR 853-350 and tell them we need more information specifically as to how they or do not, or actually that they do meet the criteria.
Yeah,
In other words,
HLO has the authority to request the additional information, such if they just provide us a resume and it says maintenance supervisor or director of maintenance, Michael would email them, call them, or whatever it is, to ask for a position description of some sort from them to detail the duties that they have, and so we can draw that line.
I would go so far as to not only the details of the description, but how do they see that as meeting the requirement for getting an administrator? In other words, why do they think they should apply?
That's fair. Okay. Any other discussion?
Derek and Michael, this is Ann. Did you get everything you needed?
Everything?
Well, I think I
definitely-
definitely got. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
I was gonna say, we definitely got pointed in the right direction, and I think I have a better filter for reviewing these applications.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we definitely have some more solid parameters that will help us make a better decision.
Well, thank you all very much for your subject matter expertise. The goal is to come to the right decision, and you've helped us do that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Now, if there's nothing else, David, I saw your bubble light up a second ago. Did you have something?
That was an accident.
Okay.
No, we don't make mistakes. We do variations, David.
Okay. So if everybody's okay, Sam, you're the chair today. You want us to adjourn? Sam, did you want us to adjourn?
Oh, I thought you were still running the script.
Oh, I'll read it. I just want to, since you're the chair, I just want to make sure that, we're both on the same page.
Yes. If nobody else has anything, then let's have a motion to adjourn.
Okay. The Long-Term Care Administrators Board meeting is adjourned at 11:01 a.m. Thank you all again very much. Very helpful.
Thank you.
And y'all have a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you all
Bye.
for serving our state. Thank you.